Me pull up my review for The Strangers, chapter 1 here. I'm gonna go ahead and get started for that. Nick saw it. Nick was able to see it.
Yeah, it was the one movie I was able to see out of the three that were released in theaters this weekend, and I'll save it for my review. But let me preface this with I was a huge fan of the 2008 original with The Strangers, with the 2008 film starring Scott Speedman and Liv Tyler about this couple that go to this remote cabin and are terrorized by three masked strangers.
Yeah. So let me pull up these notes for this. Oh man. And sorry we couldn't do the show Friday. That's why I'm kind of backed up on shows right now. It's because the power went out here in the area.
Yeah, really bad storms going throughout the entire Houston area. I was like, I grew up in Florida where we basically have an entire 6 months out of the year that are the hurricane season. So I get it, man.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into this. So our first review of the day is going to be for the film The Strangers, Chapter 1. And The Strangers, Chapter 1, if you've seen any of the kind of previous other Strangers films, which is at this point now a horror franchise, there were two previous other movies, The Strangers Prey at Night, which starred Christina Hendricks in it. And also you had The Strangers, just titled that simply, which came out in 2008, which starred Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman, as Nick just mentioned. So it follows kind of the basic same premise of each of the same movies. You have a couple. In the case with The Strangers Prey at Night, it was a whole family there in kind of this remote location. But you have, a group of people, in a kind of remote location. And then you have these various killers there stalking these people, hunting these people, playing games with these people. In this case, it's usually a guy and two girls. They wear masks. The guy wears like a big old sack over his head with eye holes cut in it. The two girls wear these doll type masks there. And they like to play with their food before they eat it. They like to, look at people, whether this dude's like, yeah, take that shower. Yeah, wash that hair. Make sure to put conditioner in there. You got that kind of going on.
It's like you had some pasta with red sauce. Remember to soak it before you wash.
You got to do the dough softly. You got to roll it like this instead of this. And the couple in this are, you have Madeline Petiche there.
Madeline Petch, who for the longest time was one of the main cast members on Riverdale, and Froy Gutierrez, who plays Ryan.
Okay, so I haven't really seen them before because I don't watch Riverdale, and I've never seen Teen Wolf or Cruel Summer, so I've never seen those things before. But yeah, they're the couple here. They're the ones being stalked. They're the ones being harassed here by the killers in this film. So, like I said, if you've seen a previous Strangers movies before, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into here. Those kind of same vibes. I'm going to pass to Nick. Nick saw this movie as well as me. Nick, what were your thoughts on The Strangers, Chapter 1?
So, to preface my review, I got to add a little bit of context, and I got to talk a little bit about how I feel about the 2008 original movie and what made that movie so special. And something that works so well about that film is this sense of claustrophobia of this very isolated cabin, this very much slow burn 70s psychological thriller element of this couple, because we meet Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman going to this vacation house after a botched marriage proposal. And so much of the first act of that movie is just stewing in this this crossroads of this couple's relationship and getting you to care about these two people before all of this horrific stuff happens. And it hurts just as much on a rewatch, because this movie was very much a reaction to kind of the more teen focused lens of horror with stuff like Scream 3, with a lot of the PG-13 slashers, with a reaction to a lot of the J-horror remakes that came over to America with the success of The Grudge and The Ring. And with the Strangers, its focus was just on this sense of dread and this absolute randomness of violence, and the fact that the real reason behind this whole torture is just because these people were in the way. They were home. And with that movie, that is one of the few horror movies that truly haunts me, that is truly scary, because the entire time it's just these three killers toying with their food.
Mm.
And with The Strangers Chapter 1, it is, what if we took the original movie and just ran the script through ChatGPT, but took away all of the charm and what made that movie special?
Mm. So I've seen Pray at Night. I think we reviewed it when it came out, long time ago when that movie came out. That movie came out in 2018. So I do remember us doing a review for that. It's up on the channel now, I believe, if you want to check that out. Strangers '08. I remember maybe saying that a long time ago, longer than Pray at Night. And like I said, this movie, Chapter 1, follows the same thing, follows the same kind of premise here. A couple or group of people, killers hunting them. Very, very basic setup here. And I had an issue with all those movies. I think, it's the same thing, the slow burn, which can work depending on how you play it and what you do here. I think it's a lot of characters making dumb decisions. Like, especially, I remember at Pray at Night, like the family making really dumb decision after dumb decision there, especially since they outnumbered the killers. And then they make it. I get your stress. I get you. You know what I mean? It's a stressful thing, obviously. But damn, I mean, just dumb decision after dumb decision there. And with these Strangers movies now, I guess this is kind of almost like a soft reboot in a way.
Well, the first movie was paying a love letter to slasher films of the 70s, and Pray at Night was going more into the 80s, into more more exploitation films, doing a movie that was, actually had some sense of catharsis at the end.
Yeah. So I did like a little bit. They kind of fought a little bit more back in this movie than the previous one. I mean, more in this one they fought back more than there in the Strangers Chapter 1. But apparently, I was looking, so this is kind of starting off a new trilogy of movies, like that's all coming out this year.
Yeah. So this is pretty much adopting the original release strategy for another franchise that we talked about a couple years ago with Fear Street, where all of them were shot, all the movies are in the can, and they were supposed to all be released theatrically within the same calendar year.
Yeah. But this is
but Fear Street, that was kind of a victim of the Fox Disney buyout, so it ended up getting released on Netflix. And with The Strangers, all three films are written, directed by Renny Harlin, so they're all going to theaters.
They're all going to theaters, and it's going to follow the characters there throughout the course of, after they have their interaction with the character and everything like that. So the characters you see, they'll kind of make a return here a little bit there in 2 and 3, which is, I think, almost like you say, also like a little bit like the Ty West thing where, he did X and then Pearl came out, but that was kind of a surprise. He didn't really know that was kind of going to happen. And then now we're going to get Maxine, which is coming out this year. So I didn't all do it in the same year, but those movies were good, and this is not. So really,
with both of Ty West's X trilogy so far, both of those movies had very different things to say. Both of them had very different subject matter to tackle. And with The Strangers, how the hell can you possibly do a trilogy around this concept?
Yeah, unless they completely change a lot of different things, because we've never seen it past just the home invasion thing, and then what else? So, and maybe they can do so. So that's kind of makes me a little maybe kind of optimistic of like, okay, you're going to maybe a completely different direction, maybe in 2 and 3 than in this first one. Like this first one's just a setup for the other movie. So maybe I don't know, maybe 2 and 3 can be kind of good. And you mentioned the director of this, who's directing all 3 of these movies, is Renny Harlin. So his previous work includes, he did The Misfits, which is 2021. He also did a lot of these I have not seen ever before. He also did Deep Blue Sea. He did that with good old Samuel Jackson. He got eaten by a shark.
Yeah,
Best moment in cinema history, though. You got to give
yeah,
that is kind of
yeah. Deep Blue Sea is a movie I love, but for all of the wrong reasons.
yeah.
And that tends to be the case for most of the movies I know of Rennie Harlin, because he directed Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. He directed Die Hard 2. He directed Cliffhanger.
Yeah, he's got a long career, very, very long career in Hollywood. Dating movies all the way back to the '80s, so it's a very, very long career. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you could do something more interesting with this if you do a sequel and then another one, maybe. But this one is it's boring. It's kind of bland. The character's not interesting. Like you said, written by Chat GTP, GT of like generic things couples say to each other. They're on a road
Yeah,
trip.
and what made the first movie so special is we are seeing a couple that are kind of at a crossroads of, are they going to stay together or not? Is because even though this is a very tense situation, they both, and we spend enough time that we see that they both still clearly care about each other, even though they are going through this hard time. And then adding the torment of of the strangers, and with here, it's like, eh.
Yeah. I mean, they make everything try to look extra creepy. They go to the small town, which, listen, I get that if you're a small town, you're being a little nervous if you're black, but you're white,
It's
you'll
like,
be fine.
yeah,
You'll
y'all two pretty ass white people. You'll be fine.
you'll be okay. They're trying to put extra emphasis on the creepiness of the small town and everything, and them being in this cabin all alone in the woods.
Yeah, and the weirdest thing is that this is supposed to be a prequel to the 2008 film.
Really?
And
How is
the
this supposed to be a pre?
entire exactly, because the entire plot hinges that this house is an Airbnb.
Yeah. That's fucking I didn't know it was supposed to be because that doesn't make any sense that it would be a prequel.
I mean,
Um
unless Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman were just two hipsters that refused to use current technology.
Unless they operating on Fast and Furious timeline wise, where shit is, you know what I mean? Like, you got a 37-year-old teenager and shit and like Tokyo Drift. I mean, unless they doing it like that. But I mean, the killers, they're not that interesting, really. I mean, you see them, okay, they're gonna do the typical stuff, creep up behind her and look at them. Like we saw that scene of her in the shower. But they establish how creaky this house is. So
Mhm.
you don't tell me you don't hear none of that. These big, these people walking around the steps here in this house, and you don't hear anything. They kind of establish that kind of goes in and out, I guess, when they wanted to for horror movie effect there. Um, yeah, I mean, what's kind of some of your things to say about this movie that kind of turns you off?
The biggest thing about this is that this is just a repeat of the original 2008 movie, but without any of what made that movie special. It doesn't have the great performances from our two leads that made me care about them prior to that. It doesn't give me the context of their relationship. So I don't care when, horrible things start happening to them.
Mm,
So if I can say anything, the gore in this movie looks a little bit better, but kind of like how I talked about with a movie like Terrifier, is like, unless either A, your writing is that good that I care about the people in torment, or B, the gore just looks that good that I'm more in awe of that. And chapter one is neither.
yeah, it's not exciting on a horror level if you're just looking for a lot of blood and gore. It's not exciting on a character level. It's not exciting on like you got cool killers level. None of that really.
Yeah, even Pray at Night, which I think is a very flawed film, but I think compared to this, that movie is fucking Citizen Kane. That movie has the whole sequence inside the swimming pool, which is
That is a good sequence.
awesome. It
That
is
is,
awesome.
that is a good sequence. I thought that it was a good sequence there, the swim pool sequence. That was good the way they kind of did that there. Yeah, I mean, it's really little to say about this movie. It's kind of very forgettable. I mean, its budget is probably kind of small, and it'll probably
Hmm.
be able to make its budget back. Yeah, the budget was 8.5 million. They've already made 12.6 million on this. So it's made for relatively cheap there. Um, I it's just so forgettable, so bland. But I never liked the other previous Strangers movies.
Mhm.
I didn't like Pray at Night. I didn't like the first Strangers film. I
Mhm.
thought they also had that same thing about it in it. I get the creepiness and the fear that you're trying to play on of people who
Mhm.
come into break into your home and then you never know. And they mentioned at the beginning of the movie like this many robberies take place at home invasions take place a
Mhm.
year, or violent crimes happen a year, and all this other stuff. And it's like, while you're watching this movie, somebody's getting killed right now. It's like, okay, it's like, all right, sure. But yeah, I just don't think it really is that effective of kind of how lazy it is. For me, I just would give it a skip it for me. It's,
Mm.
it's just the plain on skip it. What about you?
The thing that is the actual bane of my existence is when I feel like a film has wasted my time. And that's how I feel about The Strangers Chapter 1. Everything that works about this movie was done so much better in the original 2008 The Strangers, even in Prey at Night, where for as flawed as that movie is, it's at least has some kind of personality to it. Here, it's devoid of that. It feels like it was a movie that was made out of the cookie cutter of you know of a slasher movie. The performances, I like Madeline Petch as an actress. She always felt like, for as insane as Riverdale got in its later season, she always felt like she understood the assignment. And she's, passable here. But I didn't really feel her chemistry with her male co-star and their characters are both so thinly written that when the strangers start coming knocking, I don't care.
Mm. So, also a skip it from you, or what?
Nah, this movie, I just feel absolutely nothing towards this. So I got to give this a waste of film.
Wow, waste of fucking film.
Yeah, it's like there are waste of films where I'm genuinely angry of it, but I can't even bring myself to feel mad about this.
Yeah, like this right here. Like, there ain't no way they hung up that and did all that, and you didn't hear them.
They ain't no fucking way.
Like they did all that, and you didn't hear. I mean, I guess maybe since she was in the shower, I guess maybe they did that since then she was in the shower. So I guess you could say that. But yeah, that's what we kind of have here. Man, I was thinking, yeah, man. I mean, we got a little few good horror movies this year. We got Late Night with the Devil.
We got The First Omen, which was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So you got a little bit of good horror, but I think the bad ones are outweighing the good ones.
Like we ate good for a couple of years with 2022 and a little bit with 2023, but the bad horror, it had to come back sometime.
Yeah. Also, Immaculate. I'd say Immaculate was pretty decent. Immaculate. What Sydney Sweeney?
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. Did you see it on streaming?
Yeah, I saw it on streaming.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, you gave it a waste of fucking film. I gave it a skip it for The Strangers, Chapter 1. Maybe the sequels will be better.